30 years ago, the legendary rap group Mobb Deep, they came up with a hook that perfectly describes last night's Republican debate. It's the chorus of their song Shook Ones Part 2. The line goes, ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. They scared to death, they scared to look, they shook. Going forward, that should be the theme song of Vivek Ramaswamy's campaign. They are scared of this dude. I have been telling y'all, Vivek Ramaswamy, he has got the Republican establishment shook. He's going after Ronald McDonald, the poster child of nepotism. The only reason Ronna McDaniel was given this job is because she is the niece of Mittens Romney, one of the softest, one of the weakest politicians I have ever seen. That's why he was given the nickname Mittens. Men wear gloves, women wear mittens. Now, full transparency here. I did not watch the Republican debate last night. I spent about an hour this morning watching clips of the debate. Lack of interest, that was not the reason that I didn't watch. I watched the previous 3 debates. I think Vivek Ramaswamy is incredibly entertaining. I have watched countless interviews with him. There wasn't a Pels game last night that would keep me from watching. If Vivek Ramaswamy is involved in a debate, I am going to watch it. But the reason I didn't watch last night, I didn't know about it. I didn't find out about the debate until about an hour before it started. At that point, we had already made dinner plans. Horrible, horrible promotion for this debate by the RNC. I spend every day looking through the media. My newsfeed's always open, constantly updating. If I had forgotten about this debate, I would imagine that there are millions of others just like me. Last night's debate, it was hosted by News Nation. News Nation? Really? The network who donates $1 million a year to Chris Cuomo to be the face of the network? Hey, it's me, Chrissy C. The network who couldn't attract a dehydrated cucumber to a wet peach? That is the network that Ronald McDonald gave this debate to? News Nation? I checked out their YouTube just out of curiosity. Their views suck. On YouTube, my audience is substantially larger than News Nation. They have over 1 million subscribers. Glenn Beck and The Blaze, they begged to moderate a debate. I mean, they begged for it. Ronald McDonald either wouldn't respond or she turned him down. Why? Because Ronald knew if the Blaze moderated a debate, the candidates, they would actually have to answer real questions. Now, I think Ron DeSantis would be fine with that. I know Vivek Ramaswamy would be fine with it. You know who wouldn't agree to it? The darling of the mainstream media and the preferred candidate of Ronald, Nikki Haley. Well, KC, what about Chris Christie? Lizzo? What about him? His campaign is useless. The only reason Chris Christie is involved at this point, they're just using him for training purposes. Aspiring forklift drivers are on standby just in case that flimsy podium breaks while Christie is leaning on it and he needs assistance getting back up. Again, I want to be fully transparent here. I did not watch the full debate last night, but from what I saw, this was another dominant performance by Vivek Ramaswamy. Over the last couple of months, this dude has been campaigning like he just has nothing to lose. And when you've got nothing to lose, you can take the risk of being verbally dangerous. Donald Trump had nothing to lose in 2016. Have you guys noticed? Trump has been relatively quiet during this campaign. Now, part of that silence can be attributed to the fact that the mainstream media is just refusing to cover him. What's different for Trump now, though, when compared to 2016, Trump has more to lose. He knows he has his base locked in, but he's got to be appealing to women. He's got to be appealing to independent voters. His strategy in 2016, it's just not going to work now. Which is why I keep saying that Vivek Ramaswamy is running for vice president. He's going to be the mouth. He's going to be the abrasive voice that Donnie just can't be right now. Last night, Vivek Ramaswamy, he completely exposed Nikki Haley as a corrupt fraud. Brutal. I mean, it was absolutely brutal. You know, Nick Haley and John Biden have something in common. Actually, they have a couple of commonalities. Rampant corruption, and I'll go into detail about the alleged corruption of Nikki Haley here in just a second. But Nick and John, they also enjoy their morning coffee while talking about their alleged benefits they're receiving in Ukraine. With her obsession with Ukraine, you would think that Nikki Haley is knowledgeable about the country. I don't live in Canada, but if you asked me to name 3 Canadian provinces, I could do it with ease. Quebec, Nova Scotia, Manitoba. I've never lived in Mexico, although I have visited Mexico many times. I can name 3 Mexican states: Sinaloa, Baja California, Chihuahua, the favorite state of those who enjoy Taco Bell like Chris Christie. Nikki Haley is an ardent supporter of American involvement in the war in Ukraine. Her support has ramifications for people in the military and their families. If you have a son, if you have a daughter in the military, and a presidential candidate is supporting the war in Ukraine, naturally, you're going to have questions. Question number 1, why? Why do you want to send my child to Ukraine? Question number 2, how much do you know about this conflict? How much do you know about the region? If you are willing to send my child into a war zone, you better be damn sure that you know what the hell you're talking about. Vivek Ramaswamy had the same questions. Since Nikki Haley is heavily supportive of American involvement in Ukraine, Vivek Ramaswamy put her on the spot on national television. Well, almost national television. I mean, this was News Nation, but Vivek Ramaswamy put her on the spot. He asked Nikki Haley to name 3 Ukrainian provinces. Should be rather simple for an expert like Nick, right? Watch for yourself.
Foreign policy experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house.
There are times when you can say a lot without saying anything at all. Did you guys see the face of Nikki Haley? That was the face of someone who knew they were busted. That was the face of someone who was thinking, how in the hell am I going to get out of this? Seriously. If Nikki Haley knew 3 provinces in Ukraine or regions or territories, whatever the fuck, I'm willing to admit I don't know anything about Ukraine, but I'm not trying to send your kids over there. The extent of my knowledge of Ukraine, I know it's a country in Europe. But if Nikki Haley could name 3 Ukrainian regions, she would have interrupted Vivek Ramaswamy and answered the question. It's not like these candidates are afraid to interrupt each other during the debate. Most of these debates consist of nothing but yelling and talking over each other. Nikki Haley didn't answer the question because she doesn't know shit about Ukraine. Think about the moment it would have created if Nikki Haley knew the answer. This segment happened during the first few minutes of this debate. This was Nikki Haley's moment to damage the credibility of Vivek Ramaswamy. This was her moment to shut him the hell up, but she couldn't do it because she doesn't know. Let's go ahead and get into the alleged corruption of Nikki Haley. I pulled this information directly from Vivek Ramaswamy. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Me personally, I'm leaning towards most of it being true. Now, some of it may be exaggerated by Vivek Ramaswamy for political reasons, but in most cases where there is smoke, there's usually an ass fire. 5 years after her first election in 2004, the Haley family tripled their income. How many of you guys tripled your income from 2004 to 2009? Hell, how many of you guys have tripled your income in the last 5 years? Vivek Ramaswamy is accusing Nikki Haley of accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in gifts while she was governor of South Carolina. She allegedly awarded multi-million-dollar state contracts to companies that allowed her to use their private jets. She gave Boeing $120 million in incentives while she was governor. As soon as she left office, she was on their board of directors. I didn't know that Nikki Haley was also an expert in aviation. I did some research, some background research. I looked at her career before she entered politics. Nikki Haley started off her career at FCR Corporation, a company that specializes in waste management. Translation: Nikki Haley used to be a dump diver. Like her sisters in the WNBA dump, Nikki Haley is an expert at airballing dunks and shooting free throws that fail to make it past the free throw line. Throughout her 30 or so year career in the private sector and in politics, I couldn't find a single example of Nikki Haley having any experience in aviation. So, how did she land a high-level position at a company that manufactures airplanes? After she was the ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley just stumbled upon $8 million. How? How did she do this? Was she walking down the streets of Charleston and found a bag full of money? Was she walking down the streets of San Francisco utilizing the services of their poo app? Did she find some high quality doodle and sell it to the WNBA dump for $8 million? According to Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley made this money through her family's military contracting business. I wonder if that is why Nikki Haley is so supportive of American involvement in Ukraine. But, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Let's go ahead and get to Lizzo. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm starting to get concerned with Chris Christie. This dude can barely stand up. He's constantly leaning on the podium, trying to shift a couple of 100 pounds of his weight onto that poor device that was built from materials that enhance climate change. Last night, Christie, he decided that he was going to play the role of the knight in shining armor. I'm going to defend my damsel in distress against these evil attacks from toxic masculinity. This dude was a complete simp. You remember that dude in high school who could never get the pretty girls because he was a slob? He didn't lift his rolls when he showered, so he always smelled like the set of The View. When he turned his neck, you could see the dirt line sandwiched between his skin. Since he couldn't get the pretty girls based on personality, since he couldn't attract girls based on cleanliness and appearance, he bought the Simp Handbook. He used the strategy of being their hero, being their shoulder to cry on, being the best friend. That is exactly what Chris Christie did last night. He came to the defense of Nikki Haley by damn near bursting a blood vessel along with the seams in his tight pants and yelling at Vivek Ramaswamy. It was kind of a dangerous situation for people standing near Chris Christie. Protective gear had to be handed out to protect eyes from flying buttons. Watch for yourself.
You do this at every debate.
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. Okay? You say this. You do this. You do this at every debate. You go out on the stump and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to say
exactly what I said, Chris.
I'm not done yet. This is the fourth debate. The fourth debate that you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America.
Chrissy, why are you so mad? I haven't seen Chris Christie this angry since Dunkin' Donuts trimmed their quality control budget after the donut diva Brian Stelter was fired by CNN. Now, you didn't see this in that clip, but Vivek Ramaswamy, he was allowed to respond to this bitter tirade from Chris Christie. He asked Chris Christie, why don't you just get the hell out of this race? That's a fair question. I mean, seriously, why is Chris Christie on stage? What is his purpose? I have a better chance at winning this nomination. What does he stand for? Does anyone know his positions? The only thing I have seen from Chris Christie during this campaign is constant attacks on Donald Trump and constant attacks on the buffet. As I was preparing this video, I had someone send me a clip from Fox News. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy, he was being interviewed on Fox and Friends this morning. And they need to rename that show because Fox is kind of running out of friends, and this segment is one of the main reasons. The irrelevant Brian Kilmeade, he decided to adopt the role of the Lizzo. 6:30 in the morning, and he is stiffer than Jackie Mahomes at Club Shay Shay, going hard at Vivek Ramaswamy. He's interrupting him like he's the star of the show. Brian Kilmeade is speaking like Americans actually care about what he has to say. At one point, I was hoping producers would give this dude a muzzle. Instead, seems like they handed him the woke shovel and allowed him to bury himself. With a straight face, Brian Kilmeade told Vivek Ramaswamy that Ukraine has the best military fighters in the world. Well, that's just great. That's great news. Like I said, I don't know shit about fuck when it comes to Ukraine, but this is amazing. Ukraine has the best military fighters in the world? Let's assume for a second that's true. Let's assume for a second that Brian Kilmeade is the opposite of Nikki Haley and actually knows about Ukraine. If they have the best military fighters in the world, why in the hell do they need us? Fox News is an absolute dump. Not everybody. Jesse Waters is good. I like Greg Gutfeld, but most of the people at Fox, they are nothing but mouthpieces for Ronald McDonald and the Republican establishment. But give me your thoughts on this. Vivek Ramaswamy decimates Nikki Haley at the debate. Again, campaign of Chris Christie, completely useless. I still have no idea why News Nation was hosting this debate. I mean, did anyone watch the debate last night? Did anyone even know it was on? Do you think the Republican establishment is afraid of Vivek Ramaswamy? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. I appreciate each one of you guys and your continued support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.